Hello and welcome back to the channel. We're going to try something a little bit different and have a series where we play through ARK Survival Ascension in real time. So it's going to be a bit more of a chilled approach. I'll use this initial episode just to talk through some of the game's basics, and then I'll probably do future videos where I just play through without any narration over the top, so you can join me in real time. So first and foremost, we've got a couple of different options here, and we're going to go and create a new game. What I would say is every time you do this, if you do have another save, it will automatically load you back in. So you will find that you have to delete single player saves, which will mean that you lose your progress. We have a couple of different arcs here. So I'm going to stick with Island. So this is kind of the core game. A couple of DLCs included, and I picked this up on half price. It looks like they're still adding to this because there's a new one there called Lost Colony. So we've got a couple of different things here. We've got our official arcs, we've got modded arcs. There are hosted servers, there are mod servers, and for this I'm going to be playing single player because I want this to be a more chilled experience. So in our game rules, we can set different settings. So damage is the amount of damage we deal. Resistance is how much we take. So we don't want to be completely impervious to dinosaurs' attacks. We want to have a little bit of challenge, but not too much. Water drain, food drain, stamina, all at a low level. Health recovery, nice and quick. And the harvesting damage means that we can get more materials from our harvesting so that we can play through at a nice pace and do some of the construction. I'm not sure we need to tweak too much more. We got our creature. It's a scaling feature of creature spawns. We won't go too much into that. Then we got structure and world. So in this instance, our structures can take damage. So let's just jump straight in. So single player. So the difference here is that a non-dedicated server means that we can create our own ARK. We can password protect that, and we can include other players onto our server. So we'll save the settings there. And single player should then prompt us to build a character. So what you can do is, as you can see here, I've already created one on a previous playthrough, and you can save your survivor so that if you do want to start over again in the ARK, then you don't have to go through all of the character options. But you can see that there's different options for face, hair, all that kind of stuff. It's fairly in-depth actually. So let's click create. And then what you can see here is that I have already explored a portion of the map. So even though I'm starting a new playthrough, the map still shows the areas that I've explored on previous ones. It's split into different areas of difficulty, so we're going to stick with easy, I think. And we are just going to spawn in. So we'll cut past these cutscenes here. So the backstory essentially is that this is an ARK, a repopulated planet, and we are going to spawn in to a prehistoric age. So we're already surrounded by dodos, as you can see. So this is ARK Survival. It is quite an old game, and they essentially rebuilt this in Unreal Engine 5. So you can see graphically it's very impressive. There's lots of quality of life improvements with textures and all that kind of stuff. So straight away what we're going to need to do, we've got Explorer notes from the outset. So I have got the audio settings turned around just so I can talk through this first episode, and then what I'll do is I'll put all those audio backgrounds on and not talk through the entire playthrough. So a couple of core things here that we need to consider. We have our weight up there at the top. The second one down. We got our water depletion, we got our food, our stamina, and our health. And you can see we've already got a level up available. So circle takes us to our inventory, and as you can see at the moment we have absolutely nothing, but we have been given 15 skill points that we can put into these different criteria. So I think what we want to do, we've set our water food depletion quite low, so we don't need to worry too much about that. What I like to do is put that into weight so that we can carry more. Health is always a good one. And let's put some into crafting skill, fortitude, and yeah, the more we put into weight, the more we can carry. Next thing is engrams, which is essentially blueprints. You can see there we've already unlocked, or we already have available to us, the ability to craft a stone pick, a torch, and a note. So the stone pick's going to be important because we need to be able to get access to some flint in order to be able to create the other tools that we need to start out. So we can pick up stones, as you can see. If we pick up plants, so this is with the triangle button, and we're playing this on the PS5, and I'm currently playing it via my portal. So you probably see that as we're harvesting these bushes, if we go to our inventory, we're also picking up different berries and seeds. So this is fibre, which is what we gather from the plants. And then if we head over to our crafting menu, and we can see that in order to craft the stone pick, we need wood and we need thatch. So wood, as you would expect, comes from trees and plants. So at the moment, because we haven't got any weapons, we're going to do that with our bare hands. Ooh, it was fairly easy to knock that tree over. And thatch is in the form of palm frond. So what you can probably see is, hopefully when we first spawn in, there's not too many creatures that present a danger to us. So largely these creatures will leave us alone unless we upset them. That one over there looks like quite an aggressive one, so I'm not sure where I don't think we've spawned in on the easiest area here. So what we need to do is find ourselves a little spot to call home. So I have a little wander around first, because the resources will respawn back in. So it's a good idea to find somewhere that has some palm fronds, because they are the central thing that we're going to need for constructions. So whilst we're doing that, let's just craft ourselves a stone pick there. As you can see, we've gone into our crafting menu and we've got a couple of different options. So we can craft just one with the R2 button, or if we hit circle, we'll craft as many as we can from the materials that we've got. We don't need more than one at the moment. So these tools will deteriorate as we use them, and then you'll be prompted to repair them. Well, I've crafted two there by mistake. And then we can drag and drop these down to a quick menu down there at the bottom. So now when we press left on the directional pad, then we'll equip this. We are going to need some flint and stone, which we can harvest from the rocks here, like so. And that is going to mean that we can now craft some other items. So in order to do that, we need to unlock the blueprints. So whilst you're in your menu, the world around you does still go on, so it's worth just checking if anything's attacking you whilst that's happening. So we're going to head over to engrams here, and we're going to use, we've been given 162 skill points, which is quite generous because we're on one of the easier difficulty settings, and we're going to go through and unlock the ability to craft these introductory items. So we got a campfire on which to cook meat, stone hatchet to gather stone, spear as a crude weapon, and then we got this cloth clothing and a water skin to be able to harvest water. So we'll unlock all those. We've got a very generous amount of blueprints available. Initial things that I would look to craft. Thatch foundation is the basis of our base building. Obviously we've then got ceilings, doorways, and a storage box is very, very useful until we can put some skill points into our ability to carry weight. We then have some stairs and roof there. That's important. If you can, let's see if we can unlock this yet. Where is the simple bed? Maybe I've gone past it. So the simple bed means that once we place that, it doesn't necessarily even have to be in the house. We can just place it out in the open. Once we place a simple bed, that means if we do die during our playthrough, then we're going to respawn back to that spot and not a random place on the map. So it doesn't look like we've got enough skill points just yet to craft that. Let's just make sure that we've not gone past it. I thought it was one of the earlier items. So if we don't want to scroll through as I'm doing here, there is a search option, so let's just type in here bed. Simple bed. Don't know how I missed that. So we can learn to make the simple bed. So in order to craft our cloth clothing to give us a bit of protection, and to harvest stuff, you will need to have an empty hand like so. Press the triangle button and we'll gather that, and it gives us a little bit of protection. So if we're out in the sun for too long, we'll heat up, and if we're out in the cold for too long, we will be too cold as well. So we shall craft. We need hide to craft that, which we need to harvest from animals. So let's actually go through here. We've already got the stone axe. Don't really need a torch at this point. We'll craft the hatchet, the spear, and you can see there's a little queue there at the bottom. We are going to need some trousers, a hat. We will need hide for the shoes. A shirt there, and we need hide for the bandages as well. And once we've crafted those, then we can go back into our inventory, and as you can see, they are in there to equip. So equip the trousers, the shirt there, and the hat. We can drag these tools down to our quick action menu down there. And in terms of being able to drink, what you need to do is you need to head on into the water. Once you're in there, and just check there's no piranhas around, And if we go into our... Actually, I've not made one yet because it needs hide. So the water pouch will need hide, and once you go in there, it gives you the option to drink. So you don't need to distill the water, which is good. And what I would say is one of the things I like about this game is just the sheer amount of options that are available in terms of the different sliders for the difficulty. So you could go straight in with a quite extreme survival, or as I'm doing here, you can have more of a chilled experience. So just need to find a little spot here to set up a camp. And as I say, that needs to be somewhere where we can have easy access to some palm fronds, because thatch is the key crafting material. So let's just have a little look on the map, see where we spawned in. Okay, so we've spawned in outside of the area we explored. That's my fault. I should have just chosen the area beforehand. So we'll head over here. We will potentially take some fall damage. And what we want to find is somewhere where there's not really any threats, but as I say, there is an abundance of crafting materials. What's that in the water? So we'll just quickly go back to our skill points and assign those. So I think, again, just for now, I'm going to put that all into weight. And again, the reason for that is that we've set the difficulty settings fairly low, so we don't need to worry too much about food depletion and things like that. So we do have an oxygen meter as well. So some nice, vibrant, aquatic foliage down here. So I think we can harvest that as well. And so in terms of crafting, you've got your kind of raw materials that you can craft basic things out of. And then as we progress, we'll be able to make a forge, a smithy, and all that kind of stuff to kind of refine materials and make a very extensive range of different things. The palm fronds here are proving quite tricky to find, actually. A fair bit of exploration here and not come across a single one. So we can harvest them from the palm trees themselves. The thing is with that you're also harvesting wood, and your inventory can quite quickly fill up. What I would say is, as you head on into the island, there are increasing dangers. So particularly in the mangrove swamps, there's some fairly sizable kind of alligator things in there that will quite happily snap you up for lunch. Yeah, this is unusual in that I haven't really seen any palm fronds. That would seem, I like the look of that bit over there. That would have been a nice little place to set up home. So we'll swim back across there because the character is hot at the moment. Let's see if these things down at the bottom are harvestable. Oh, that's a big fish. So thankfully he's a friendly. So as well as... Oh, so there's a piranha attacking us there, I think. He's not a friendly, so let's deal with him. And there's another one. And then to harvest it, we need to get onto our axe or our pickaxe. Whoop. And oh, not making this look particularly easy. There we go. We'll just deal with that one for now. And then if I look into the inventory, you'll now see that we have some meat over there. So that will spoil over time. So what I'd initially look to do is set up a very basic base and get a campfire going to cook that meat. Now, another thing about this game, which makes it quite unique, is that we can actually tame some of the dinosaurs. So with the smaller dinosaurs, just trying to work out which ones are friendly and which ones aren't. You can basically feed them a food that they're interested in, and that will tame them. And then you can name them, and you have a little radial menu, so you can give them commands that way. With the bigger ones, you have to fashion yourself a wooden club, and it's a bit more barbaric, so you do have to club them unconscious and then feed them. So in one of my previous playthroughs, I did manage to tame a T-Rex, and as you progress through the levels, there we go, palm fronds, now we're in business. You can craft saddles, and you can actually ride the dinosaurs. I believe later on you can also make armor as well for them. So now that we know that we've got some palm fronds here, we know that we need to set up a base fairly nearby. They don't have to be particularly complex, and as I say, you don't necessarily have to build one at all. You can put the simple bed down out in the open, and that will mean that you will respawn there if you die, and also means that you can fast travel between locations. So the plan for this playthrough is, as I say, is to talk through some of the basic game mechanics. We'll do a little bit of crafting of a fairly basic base, and I always say it's fairly basic, and then end up with a 3-story building with a balcony and whatnot. And then what we'll do is we'll look to set little home bases across the island so that we can fast travel. So our inventory is looking like it's pretty full there. You can probably make that out on the bottom right hand corner. So we're going to start using some of these materials to craft a base, a little bit of storage, just to get ourselves set up. So we'll get a little bit more. This looks like a nice scenic spot to set up home. Or perhaps there's a nice arch over there, but we'll stick close to the consumables here, the thatch. And it's nice to have this out over the water as well. So let's just clear a little bit of space here, and then let's start crafting a base. So back to the crafting menu. We already went into the blueprints or the engrams here, and as you can see, I've now got 286 points in order to unlock these various different blueprints. We have a decent amount of thatch, which is this one here. So we got 343 of that. Nice amount of wood. And I think we can then, what we'll do is we'll set up foundations. So what we're going to be able to do is go over to craft thatch foundations, and as you can see here, we've got a couple of options. So we can craft 1, craft 5, or craft 16, because that's the most we can make out of the material. I think crafting 5 as a starter is probably good. We'll also craft ourselves a storage box, and last but not least, a fire. As you can see, it's starting to rain, so we need a bit of shelter as well. So what you don't have on this is your character kind of getting, or at least not in my experience, and that might be because we have dialed back the difficulty, is we don't have the character kind of getting hypothermia and whatnot. So we can press our crafting menu, our inventory, R2, select it, then we can place it down in the environment. So we're going to put this out over the water a little bit, I think, like so. And we're going to build ourselves a little bit of a kind of house footprint here. So I'm going to craft a few more just to get our foundation done. So we'll craft another 5, should be plenty. Simple bed, what do we need for that? We got enough materials? So we need 40 hide for that. So we are going to have to go and unfortunately harvest some dinosaurs. Okay, so we'll just make a bit of a basic kind of footprint here, like so. Oh, we had another one as well. And then what we're going to be able to do is start crafting some walls as well. So we'll put our fireplace down there. I'm going to put a storage box next to it. And so what this means is that, so that as you can see, the weight that we've got there start to build up, so we can transfer over the stuff that we don't necessarily need. So you can probably see that you got 2 different things there. You got the quantity up at the top and the weight. So stones are going to be fairly heavy. We're not necessarily going to need this amount of wood at the moment. Obviously will be key to the fire. So we'll save some and I'll show you how that works in just a second. The berries, we can eat those ourselves, and they also come in very useful for taming the dinosaurs a little bit later on. So for this particular episode, we're going to focus on getting started with our core base, and then in future episodes we'll have a look at taming the dinosaurs. So we'll just drag all this over, and as you can see, we got a number of spots there. Now you have got the option, which you can probably see, I think it's R1 or something like that, sorry, L1 to transfer all items, but it just randomly picks what you've got in there. So if you want to be a bit organized and have like a storage crate for food and another one for building materials, it does mean that you have to do that by hand. But if I was to get more of any of these types of products, they would stack up in that menu up to a point. We'll just have a look at our skill point here. We got another 5 to assign, so I'm going to chuck everything into weight for the time being. Now, in order to cook food, we have to access the inventory, and the fire itself has some inventory slots over here. So we need a material to light the fire, so some wood in there. We can shift our meat over there, and then you can see down at the bottom here, if we light the fire, and that will automatically cook that meat. And so we got a couple of different things here. The amount of fuel that we've put in there will keep that fire going for 25 minutes, and it'll also keep us warm as well. And then if we go back, it probably won't be done just yet. It is actually, so you can see that it's already cooked some of the fish. You don't have to keep an eye on this. It won't burn. It will automatically cook, and you can shift it over to your inventory, and that means that the meat doesn't spoil as quickly, and it gives you more health. So let's crack on with some walls now and doors. So we are short on wood there, and we know we put quite a bit in our inventory. So let's we got 300 and 285 there. That should be plenty. So in terms of base building, it's a little bit different from games like Rust, for example. So rather than building in a basic material and then upgrading it, you will just need, if you want wooden walls, you'll have to build them with wood from the outset. So what I like to do is, let's just get this crafting, and we're going to need quite a few. So we can hit triangle to craft as many as we can out of the resources, and that's going to give us 11 at the moment. Oddly, some of the most challenging creatures are unfortunately those birds we can see flying around. A lot of the dinosaurs are a little bit easier to combat, whereas those birds are quite agile. So let's set this up, and what will happen is you can press square to cycle through the different options. We've got doorways, supporting walls, and windows. We want to have a nice view out over the water there. So I'm going to leave this as quite a basic setting. Probably have a little railing there later on. Doorway we will have here, and then the rest of them will just make standard walls. So if you were playing on a server, obviously, then as with most of these type of games, what you really want to do is make your base as secure as possible. So you can craft doors, and you can put locks on them actually. So if you're playing where there are other kind of real world players, then you can protect your goods, and that's why I've placed the storage crate outside and not inside, because we don't need to worry about that at the moment. So we can build basic structures fairly easily, just your standard kind of boxes, as we can see here. And as you've probably seen, thatch is our main building material, which is why we've chosen to build in this particular spot, because it will respawn fairly quickly. And on the settings, which we started at the start of the video, that had already been set to gather a decent amount of resources. So again, you could make it a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for, grindy, is that you could make it more challenging, so that you had to gather a lot of stuff, and it wouldn't take longer to build the bases. I think this is a good kind of compromise in that it's not taking all of the challenge out of the game, but it's quite rewarding to build your base. One thing that I have found is you can get pitched roofs. I found that was a little bit tricky to work out, if I'm honest. So we've got a couple of pterodactyl type things there. So what I'm going to do is if I go over to craft the half wall, which is well, actually that's thatch wall and doorway, thatch roof, ramp and stairs. Okay, so I'll craft the door first just to show you that, and whilst that's doing its stuff, we need some fibre to be able to carry on crafting different things. So you can see that you've got a doorway there with the way it opens up. There's that pesky bird, and that will also damage our lovely home here as well. Where is it? It's a bit tricky without the audio on to know exactly where it is. So the spear you can use two ways. You can use it to stab and also to throw. But as you can see, these birds are pretty agile. So you'll have a problem doing that. So we'll wait for him to come to us. I think I managed to throw the spear there somehow. Don't know quite how. Pick that back up again. And wait for him to swoop in. Oh, it's a bit annoying that they're in this particular spot because they are oddly the trickiest ones to combat. Okay, that takes care of him. So we'll use our axe to harvest. What's that going to give us? So we got some meat and we got some hide, which actually a fairly decent amount there. So we got 39 from that, and we need 40 to craft the simple bed. So we're almost there with that. Okay, so resource-wise, we had plenty of thatch. We now need to gather some fibre, just so that we can continue making our basic kind of base here. And then what I'll do is to keep these videos to a decent kind of time scale is I will then so I got a bit distracted then. I will then continue crafting but without the commentary, so that I can put some stairs in here and show you how to make a couple of different floors. So if we go over to engrams, this time we want I think it's the quarter wall. I've already got that. See, but let's just unlock all of them. So we'll unlock that one, the thatch quarter wall railing. We would like, because that's kind of fencing almost. We want thatch quarter triangle ceiling. Don't need to worry too much about the foundation. So let's just unlock all of that. We've got a thatch ladder. Let's unlock that because we've got plenty of points here to use. And okay, simple bed. Torches are useful because then you can light up your home as well. So we want a quarter railing there, which I believe is this one. So we'll craft one of those. Just can show you what that looks like. Back to our inventory, pick that up, and you can see if we cycle through the square, you have a nice little railing there to look out across the water. If we make a nice set of stairs, which is, let's just go through, so that will fashion us some useful things. We'll do a couple of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the stairs are pretty straightforward. Roofs, the pitch roofs are a little bit trickier. And I'll show you what I mean. So as you can see, the snap angles, although it's a roof, it wants to angle it downwards. So we can go through the square, but we're gonna probably, oh, there's another one of those birds. We're just gonna place our stairs down while we're getting attacked. Where do we want them? We'll put them there. And we're just going to take care of this pesky bird. Don't know how often these respawn. Seems to have lost interest, or has he? Maybe we can try and throw the spear. Yeah, that's tricky. Ooh, good shot, if I do say so. I think that was a little bit more luck than judgment, but hey, we'll take it. That means that we now have the ability to craft a simple bed. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And you can see there that we've got some stairs ready to go up to our second floor. So we're going to make some basic roofing tiles. So we've got materials to craft 7 at the moment. So I think what we might do is put our bed down here. Actually, I'll save that for the upstairs floor. So we're going to grab the ceiling tiles, and you can see that it will snap those into place for us, like so. And then what we'll do is it's a bit of trial and error, if I'm honest, with the pitched roofs. As I say, so we'll put those over there. But we'll have a go just to make a building that's a little bit more interesting. We need, well, we'll put them, we've run out actually. As you can see there that then we got the ability to build up onto a second floor like so. So we need a couple more walls there. Let's see how we're doing for materials. And we better go and check out that fire actually, because where did I put it? I put it inside the building, didn't I? Okay, so we'll go over there and we can grab the rest of the cooked meats off there. We've also got a bit of charcoal there as a byproduct. We're going to put some meat onto the fire to cook. And we've still got a decent amount of hide there. So whilst we're doing that, let's just craft ourselves the shoes there and the water. We'll check our skill points. We've got 7 there to invest, so we're going to carry on putting those into weight so that we can focus on resource gathering. That one might be quite nice to leave open with a little railing as well, so let's go ahead and We're going to craft some more. No, we're not. Thatch panels. So back off together our palm fronds. See some there. So clicking down on the left stick will mean that the character runs, and on the settings that we've got, the stamina depletion is pretty slow as well. Don't like the fact that there's these birds flying around all the time. It's a bit of a distraction. So the structures will take damage. Again, on our settings, we've set that to be fairly minimal, but you can repair them as long as you've got the materials. So palm fronds, as you can see, is quite central to what we need. So the bigger ones, the pterodactyls won't really, or pterodons, won't really bother you unless you bother them, essentially. As you can see there, we've got our little doorway which we can open, like so. So we are going to, leave this one. Actually, no, we won't leave that open. We're going to make that walled, and we'll make the railings upstairs, just so that we've got a little protection downstairs. So again, crafting. We're going to make, how many do we need? 3. So we're going to craft 3 wall panels. 1, 2, 3. And we'll have some nice windows there to enjoy the view. So whilst it's crafting, there's no kind of animation to crafting, but it will slow down your movement. Let's get these wall panels, and we're going to windows. We needed 2 actually. Okay, never mind. We could section off a room, I suppose. Can we put a doorway in there, or just some supports? I think that looks quite nice. Okay, and then if we make some wall panels up here, so let's craft as many as we can. Did I click there? So how many can we make? We can make just 3. So what I'll do is just on this corner here, we'll place those down so that we can try and fashion ourselves a pitched roof. Where do we want that? Actually, we are going to need some wall panels down here, so let's do that first. Oh, ceiling panels we needed. So let's put one there, and one there, and then probably going to need to get some more resources. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this particular video here. We're probably close to, or maybe even past, the half-hour mark. So hopefully what you've seen is, with the difficulty settings on something a bit more tolerant quite early into the game, you can just go about gathering your resources and start your own little base. So the basics really are that we need a fire, bit of clothing, and then we can start building our home. And that simple bed means that we can respawn in. Here we go into the water here, and I go into the menu. Then you can see that when I go to the water pouch, I can now press R2 to consume it, and that will increase my water. I can also eat some of that delicious meat. What you could probably see there as well is that meat there has spoiled, so we need to drop that with L2. If you accidentally eat it, over time you will become sick as well. So it does look like there is some scope to use berries to make potions and all that kind of stuff, healing potions, for want of a better phrase. And so hopefully you've enjoyed this different approach to the series. I'm going to play for a little bit longer, and I'll start another video just to again talk through a little bit more, and then we'll progress into just capturing it without me commentating through it, because by then you've probably got the idea of the mechanics and you can just enjoy the play along as we go about developing our base. As always, a thumbs up lets me know that the content is enjoyable, and subscriptions help the videos reach a wider audience, and it's free and it only takes a second, so if you could, I would greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.